Daniel Caycedo with Colorado MMA News, and today I'm joined by Alen Dudo. Alen, appreciate you joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. So you are preparing for your next fight. It's going to be at Lion Fights, and it's on February 12th, and you're going to be facing another local guy here, Dan Wilson, and this is going to be for a Muay Thai bout and your pro debut. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah, I'm looking
Awesome.
forward to it.
Huge promotion to make your pro debut on, so that's exciting. But you already have experience fighting for them. So kind of tell me about this pro debut for you and what this means for your career.
So, so yeah, I believe I fought for Lions Fight Promotion like 3 times now. But yeah, I'll be making my pro debut. So this is the first time I transitioned as a full-time fighter. So I've been training twice a day, 6 days a week. So I'm looking forward to it.
Very nice. And do you have a wealth of amateur experience? You've got over 10 MMA fights, you've got boxing fights, you've got Muay Thai fights. Do you have an idea of how many fights you have overall so far?
I believe I've had over 21 fights.
Damn.
I don't know how many I've had to be exact. But I've been I've been fighting 8 times a year. So
Wow.
It's been about 4 years now.
Yeah, a great way to build a resume, and obviously it worked out well for you. Lion Fights came calling on your pro debut again. I mean, that's a big show, especially for your first fight as a pro. And you'll be taking on Dan Wilson, again, a local guy from Eastern Muay Thai. What do you know about him, and how do you feel about the matchup?
So I just know that he's 3-1. His last fight was against Hussam, who was one of my former teammates. That's really all I know about him. I don't really know much about him. So
Nice. So, we've been can't ignore the fact that COVID's been going on during this fight camp. So how have you navigated fight camp going into this fight, especially like you said, now that you get to train full time?
it hasn't really affected me much. I'm still training at AFA, a Family Affair Boxing and Muay Thai. It's on 74th and Federal with Fidel Martinez. Like I said, we train 6 days a week, twice a day. It hasn't affected me personally. So, yeah.
That's awesome. It's awesome. I mean, 6 times a week, 2 times a day. It's hard not to get better doing that schedule.
For sure.
Cool. So you're fighting Dan Wilson here again, pro debut. How do you envision the fight going? I mean, what if you were able to impose your game plan? What does that look like?
Definitely a lot of forward pressure. I'll be looking for a lot of leg kicks and setting them up. But definitely, I do want to get that knockout, try to get that bonus. I mean, who doesn't? But
yeah,
it's a game of inches, so it could go either way.
Absolutely. And so do you at Lion Fights, you get a bonus for a knockout? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So you get a $250 bonus if you knock your opponent out. So
sick. Cool. That's good incentive.
Yes.
Neat. So, I mean, again, never want to look past this fight. It's a big fight for you, your pro debut. But you mentioned you fought 8 times a year as an amateur. I mean, is that the activity level that you want to continue as a pro, or do you envision it kind of slowing down fight-wise but ramping up the training? What do you envision moving forward?
I do plan on slowing down a little bit. I plan on fighting maybe 4 times a year now as a professional. So, yeah.
Okay, cool. And then, like we said, about 10 MMA fights out of your 21 total. How does that look moving forward? This fight, again, is a Muay Thai fight, but, my understanding is that you and Nell primarily are looking to be MMA fighters, right? Taking these other fights, it's just an opportunity, both money-wise here because it's your pro debut, but also an opportunity to get better, more well-rounded. So how do you envision that part of your career going forward? Do you plan to continue to take Muay Thai fights, kickboxing fights, MMA, boxing? What does that look like?
So I did sign a 5-fight contract with Lion. So I'll be fighting a lot of Muay Thai. And I do hope that I can extend that contract and maybe fight for the title eventually. But after I win that title, then I kind of eventually want to transition into MMA.
Cool. So the kind of the Israel Adesanya approach, go get that stand up, that striking belt, get the glory there, and then move back to MMA.
Exactly.
Cool. Awesome. So what does your training look like then? I mean, are you doing something different to train specifically for Muay Thai versus previously where you were doing MMA fights and boxing as well?
So we are doing a lot more Muay Thai, especially in the afternoon. In the morning, it's all based off of just conditioning, cardio, body conditioning, and then in the afternoon we do all the technique, bag work, mitt work, and stuff like that. So
Cool.
yeah, we've been doing a lot of Muay Thai.
Gotcha. Very cool. Very cool. And who are your main training partners there? I know you mentioned Fidel as your head coach, but who are your main training partners?
So I have Adam Vigil, Fidel Jr., Alen Dudo, my twin brother, Mario. There's a whole bunch of trainers. Everyone at a Family Affair Boxing and Muay Thai.
Yeah, and it seems like a lot of those guys are very active, like you guys are as well. So I'm sure that's beneficial. Everybody kind of rising together and getting to that pro level together.
Definitely.
So what would you say your goals are for your career overall?
Honestly, I want to go undefeated, win the title for Muay Thai, win the title for MMA and boxing.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So really get that well-rounded combat experience, especially on the front end of the career, and then see how far you can go in MMA. Is that the idea there?
Yeah, definitely. Yep.
That's awesome. So heading into this fight, you mentioned COVID hasn't really been an issue. You're preparing for a fight against a guy that's got a little bit more experience, 3-1 as a pro. But you also mentioned that heading into this fight, you had a full camp. So what is the weight cut looking like here? Let's say it's January 19th today, the day of the interview. So you're about 3 weeks out from your fight. What does the weight cut look like for you, and what weight are you fighting at?
So I'm fighting at 130. I'm currently walking around at like 145. But the weight cut's not an issue at all. I've been doing
this nothing for you, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I've been doing this since I was a kid, so I'm used to doing it.
And is this something where you want to stay at 130 and maybe even look at bantamweight, or when it comes to MMA, would you go back down to 25?
So I'm looking at anywhere from 130 to 135. I definitely don't want to go back down to 25.
Yeah. Cool. So, I mean, and with kickboxing and Muay Thai, you see this a lot more often as far as not cutting a dramatic amount of weight for the fight. And it sounds to me like you're saying that's something that you're more comfortable with. You just want to be the best you possible. And for that, you don't want to have to cut a tremendous amount of weight ahead of the fight.
That's true. Yeah.
Cool. So, I mean, if everything goes according to plan this fight and you get the next fight with Lion Fights, I mean, what do you envision? How many fights do you envision you need to win to position yourself for a title fight?
To be honest, I was looking at getting all 5 fights in before I get my first title fight.
Sure.
But if I can get one anytime before that, I'll take it.
Cool. And always trying to be the best you possible. But are there, certain fighters out there that in the Lion Fights promotion that you've got your eye on or that you're preparing for?
As of right now, no, not
Cool.
really. I like to focus on one opponent at a time.
Yep.
And we'll just go.
But you'll take on all comers.
Exactly.
Cool. So then how can people watch the fight? It's on February 12th. You're fighting Dan Wilson, 2 Colorado fighters going at it, Muay Thai fight. How can people watch it, and how can they get you credit for buying a ticket?
So you can either go to UFC Fight Pass and subscribe. There'll be a live stream on there. Or you can go to dudobrothers.com or lionsfight.com and get your tickets there.
Sick. So check it out. Go to dudobrothers.com, get your tickets. Check it out at UFC Fight Pass, and go show Alen your support. And Alen, before we let you go, how can people follow you online? How can they follow
you? You can also follow me on Instagram or Facebook. Just type in my name, Alen Dudo. It's ALEN with 1 L, not 2.
ALEN Dudo. Alen, thank you very much for joining me, and Chuck D in your upcoming matchup, man.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.